Hold on. I think my spider sense is tingling. No, wait. Never mind. It's just gas. Sorry, my bad. It's The Amazing Spider-Man for MS-DOS. Released in 1990, courtesy of Paragon Software and Oxford Digital Enterprises, and also available for a number of other 80s computers, such as Atari ST, Commodore Amiga, that sort of thing. Aw man, I haven't touched this thing in ages. One of those PC games that I picked up through certain means. Yar. And I recall actually enjoying this one quite a bit, but that was like decades ago, so let's see if the game still holds up or if some things are best left in the past. The premise is pretty straightforward. You are Peter Parker, aka the Amazing Spider-Man, aka the Spectacular Spider-Man, aka Web of Spider-Man. Wait, that's all the series he had publishing at the time. Anyways. And you have to save Mary Jane, to whom Peter was married to, and I will not hear otherwise. No, get that fucking shit out of here. I don't care what that thing in the comic is supposed to be these days, but as far as I'm concerned, Spider-Man died RIP in 2007. Fuck off. From the clutches of arch-nemesis Mysterio, who has her held captive at his hideaway studio. And you do this by exploiting a glitch in the game that lets you pass through a wall on the last screen and render this whole adventure pointless. Actually, it took me a couple tries to pull that off. I've never done that before. I'm actually quite pleased with that, actually. Also, this is apparently a later version I'm playing because the version I played originally back in the day had a different ending and no opening intro. Not that it really matters, but in any event, we're going to pretend that glitch doesn't matter because otherwise we wouldn't have a video, and that just won't do. So if you choose to play the game as it was intended to be played, it's important to understand that The Amazing Spider-Man is not a straight-up action game, or even a platformer for that matter, but rather it's more of a puzzle game, with each screen and their witty titles presenting the player as Spider-Man with a problem that the webhead must overcome in order to proceed deeper into Mysterio's House of Fun. Spidey can climb most webs and ceiling surfaces. Anything that's covered in slime or some other substance, he'll either slide or slip off. Sometimes these are obvious, while others are not. He can also shoot out a web line by holding on the space bar and pushing in any 8 directions. Web lines can be used to stun enemies, and that's about all they do here. But they can also be used to latch onto ceilings and lift Spidey upwards, or he can swing from one side to another, or he could shoot a line to activate some far-off switch. That's right, Spider-Man has to find and activate switches in order to sometimes open up new passages, activate lifts, or trigger some other action, usually a trap that you have to overcome. Every few rooms you'll come across a room with a clapboard and some blue stuff glowing on the floor. The floor essentially acts as your health restoration to a certain point, while the board acts as a checkpoint that, if you clap it close, the game records your progress so that whenever you expire, and you will expire, you'll be able to restart at the last checkpoint you visited. Unfortunately, this information doesn't seem to be retained when you quit, even though it's supposed to save your progress, but I don't know, proceed with caution in that regard. Right, so controlling Spider-Man is one of the more challenging aspects of the game, and something you have to learn fairly quickly if you're going to make progress in the game, because a lot of it involves wall crawling and shooting the occasional web, which takes a little while to get a feel for, whether you're using the keyboard, mostly the arrows and spacebar, or a joystick. You'll have to watch for non-stick walls, which are either marked or not, and shooting webs, again done by holding spacebar and aiming in a direction, can be a bit tricky at first, especially in regards to web swinging because the physics can be a bit wonky at times. Learning how to move around and how to use your webbing are keys to your survival in The Amazing Spider-Man, much less success in the grand scheme of things. Now, whenever Spidey touches an enemy or hazard, he starts taking damage, as depicted by this side graphic of Spider-Man slowly degrading into a skeleton, which is rather quite gruesome, but it also serves as a wonderful metaphor to all the horrible things that would happen to Mr. Parker over the course of the next several decades. You only get one life and it's game over. Enter your name on the high score list, but you can resume from the last checkpoint pass, so it's not all bad. The game can be played, like I said, with either a keyboard or a joystick, and you can swap both control methods at any time. Admittedly, control is not always the greatest in regards to response time, but works as intended more often than not. And while understanding how Spider-Man moves about or how the physics works are common hurdles to overcome for some players, once you get the hang of it, the game does provide a fun little challenge in solving the various puzzles thrown your way, which start off small and simple, but get more intricately complex the deeper you dive into Mysterio's studio, which may even border on frustration. So I'm playing this in the EGA 16 color setting, which is naturally when this game looks its absolute best, which isn't really saying much because everything is so tiny and stuff. You have other lesser color options, but there's no reason to go there these days. In any event, the one thing you'll notice is that everything is nice and tiny. This was done on purpose so that A, a ton of information can be fit on one screen, and B, a ton of animation frames can be made for Spider-Man in regards to the many positions he assumes. The way he moves about, easily changing orientation during his climbs and transitioning from one direction to another, actually comes across smoothly and lively. Not to say that it's an amazing looking game, no pun intended. A lot of rooms are predominantly composed of blacks, grays, and occasional reds with some other colors splashed in here and there. Again, 16 color EGA out of a pool of 64, not much to work with, but even so it's fairly clean looking, not too rough, and that Spidey pictogram on the right is hilarious under the right context. In the sound department, you only have one music track that plays throughout the entire game. There's one melody that plays over and over and over again. To its credit, it's a rather catchy and cool sounding tune, the kind that sticks to you long after you've stopped playing. It's no 60s Spider-Man theme, but so what, I dig this tune. Even so, a little variety would have been nice to have. Now, sound effects comprise PC speaker noise, which isn't terrible here and is to be expected. So here's the deal, right? The Amazing Spider-Man game on MS-DOS, which also graced other home computer formats, Amiga and whatnot, is not going to appeal to everyone. If you're looking for action, you're not going to get that here. And if you're looking for fast-paced, pick-up-and-play gameplay, you're not getting that here either. This is a rather deliberate puzzle game that requires a bit of thought to get through and learning a control scheme that on paper seems simple enough, but not so much in execution. That having been said, I always liked this game. It's an enjoyable enough little game that presents clever puzzles taking advantage of the Spider-Man's wall-crawling and web-slinging skills. The little titles given to each room are a nice touch, and I do appreciate a game that challenges Spider-Man's intellectual prowess as well as his innate physical gifts. Again, this is a mileage-varying game that won't be to everyone's liking, but if you fancy something different, Amazing Spider-Man on DOS is worth a shot.